Welcome to my channel. In this part there will be a lot of cute pictures and we will start from the Sagar och Zachner book by Emily Lindholm-Oberg. You know that now it's a very rare book, it's a treasure in my collection, and I absolutely don't know how it's impossible to resolve the copyright problems which probably they have with Emily, with the printing company, to recreate this book, because it's absolutely adorable and I am sure that many people would enjoy to purchase it and to color it. And somehow it's one of the books where I color very easily. My color choices are always easy. But when I first looked at the designs by Emily Lindholm-Oberg, I wasn't impressed at all, and I shared with my friend that who would like to color such unpleasant creatures, and the style of the design, it's so childish. No, I totally dislike the book. But when I got it, I immediately fall in love. When I started to do my first page, I fall in love. I don't know, usually I'm not a big fan of simplified childish designs. You know my big dislike to the books of Maria Trolle, but somehow here, even if we have similar simplified designs of the flowers, of the leaves, I have totally different story. I do love all the designs. I do love that they have this Scandinavian vibe in them, all those wooden buildings, a lot of leaves, a lot of these nice creatures. Now I do love them. And they are actually quite easy to color. Even if pictures are detailed, individual objects, they are relatively big, so you can do them in quick time. You can find pictures for the whole year, winter pictures, autumn pictures. Also, I do love some fairy tales motifs which are also included here. Well, I still hope that maybe one day this book will be available for coloring. Here I started the title page, and again it was my bad habit to test media on the title pages. When I got my set of neon colors, I started to use it here. Actually, it's not a bad start. Yes, I hadn't touched this page for 3 years, even more, but it's still possible to finish it. It's not a bad background. Maybe now I would add something pearlescent on top of it, maybe like bubbles on the surface of the water, maybe with some glitter, pearlescent paint, and I can finish this one. Maybe one day I will do it. Almost from the very beginning I decided that in this book it's better to use mixed media for the pictures. This one was one of the most interesting pictures I've ever done. I have on my channel video which is called How I Used 10 Different Media for One Page. I will leave you a link. And here I indeed used a lot of various pencils and paints. I used Derwent Inktense, Derwent Graphite, Derwent drawing, then Prismacolors, then watercolor and acrylic paints, and I think that it was worth. I started it as an experiment, a fun thing, but in the end it helped me to create this really nice picture. I do love this lady. She produced a little bit of snow and well, I feel so stupid. And rain. And it's actually a weather which is quite traditional for our late autumn and early winter, when we have this mix of rain and snow. So for me it really falls on the nice ground. So we had similar weather and I decided to do such page. And I do love this difference between many dark and cold colors, and actually the small village on the island, which is highlighted from the light coming from inside the buildings. So I do love this difference between warm and contrast between warm and cold colors. This one I did with Prismacolors. I believe here I even did the background with pencils. Actually on this paper everything works really well. Even my Derwent color softs, they work not bad here, and I use them here. I think that maybe it was autumn picture, but I decided to transform it into a winter one, so I added a little bit of snow everywhere. The mouse is nicely packed inside of the scarf and sweater, so she is quite warm, and I added those snowflakes. Many of the pictures in this book I did with quite simple background. I used acrylic paints, matte acrylic paints, to create simple plain background to create good contrast for the main image. And also in this book I used a lot of Derwent drawing pencils. You know that they have slightly muted natural colors, and they are perfect for all those wooden buildings, for the leaves here. So here I used Derwent drawings, and for the bear I used Prismacolors to make his sweater as a focal point, as a bright spot here. It was one and only page where I tried to use a watercolor for the background. Something went wrong. I wasn't very happy how it worked here, so instead of watercolor now I prefer to use opaque paints like gouache or acrylic. For me they create better background here. This one is definitely one of my favorites. I think that the background here I also did with pencils. Sometimes I don't mind to do background with pencils. And she's so cute. Yes, again, she's simplified, but somehow she looks very cute. And all the animals, I do love that usually Emily don't use strong solid lines to outline animals. She usually uses very delicate small pen movements to slightly indicate fur on the animals, so they look very nice when you actually color them. I think that with those blue leaves I managed to create an impression of the frozen weather around, but together they cuddled, and now together they look quite warm. Another page where I again did very simple background with acrylic gouache. I do love its matte finish, and I think that this one I did with Prismacolors. Definitely I can recognize their colors on the flowers. I do love her flowers. Somehow they look very nice. It's so difficult to understand and to explain some of the books you totally can't color, even if they are similar in style, and why in some of the books you can do each and every page easily, without struggle, without problems. That's my puzzle between Maria Trolle's books, which I always struggle, even if I do like designs, some of the designs, but I never manage to color them easily. And here everything flows really very well. I still don't know, after so many years of coloring. Another example of acrylic background, but I here also sprinkled on top of the matte surface a little bit of shiny paints to create some kind of the sky background, fantasy background. And I do love my lunar cat. I deliberately decided to go with blue colors to make some fantasy creature. Again, I tried to work with contrast between cold colors, warm colors. I always love how blue works together with orange, so again I used these colors, and it was done with polychromos pencils. I especially love this bottle and something, probably the juice from the berries inside. The next one also is good. Again, I think that I used acrylic gouache probably for the background, and then Prismacolors and some golden Posca probably for the details on the background. Not sure if you can see them, but there are some golden stars above her head. On this one, probably my least successful coloring here, mostly because I struggled with the background. I wasn't very successful to do the nice, beautiful green gradient behind the Easter bunny, so when I decided to add some details like these circles or additional egg, it didn't help to improve my background, but still some of the details I do love. The bunny isn't that bad. That was when I realized that I definitely need to improve at least the technique how to do the plain gradient with acrylic and gouache paints. This one is also quite festive and shiny. Everything is covered with pearlescent paint. It's like pink magenta together with gold. I do love this difference of textures when you first do matte surface and then sprinkle with something shiny. And I think that it also created a very good addition to the image in the center, to the colors of the birds, to the gemstones. So quite nice. I am quite proud of many pictures here. Definitely not this one, but page of the left I do love. I think that I managed to do good difference between different shades of green on the leaves, so they look interesting. More intense dark green with slightly reddish edges and those almost blue-gray colors here around the berries. And of course the gnome and fox, they are very cute. They were very pleasant to color. Here I tried to do one of the Easter pages. In the main image, especially the cup, they are not bad, but again I tried to do the background with gouache, I believe, and it was difficult to do plain gradient around such an intricate design, so I don't like that there are visible brush strokes. Next we have another fantasy design which I also love. For many of the pictures in this book suit dark background, and I did use this trick to create dark background and then to use for the main image a lot of bright colors. I also tried to add this something like northern lights on the upper part, and I would say that the moose is absolutely adorable. I deliberately decided that I won't be doing any realistic full realistic texture, that it's better just to select nice colors for him to show shadows, but not to add many realistic details. It doesn't suit the style of Emily. It's better to think about colors. That was my first page in this book. Unfortunately, some of the colors there were from Prismacolors, they were attached here, so I need to delete them with the eraser to clean this page. But this one, it's not bad. I think that I again used some of the Derwent drawings for this quite muted leaves, and then Prismacolors for the cups. Here I played a lot with colors. After some break when I didn't color in this book, it was my return and I was a little bit crazy with colors. I wouldn't say that she looked like a very pleased girl. She looks more like from Wicked Fairy Tales by Brothers Grimm. So I wouldn't say that if she encountered the wolf, I definitely would put all my money on her. She definitely looks not very good, a little bit evil. But here I was concentrated on the background. I decided to add even some kind of the bokeh background. Maybe it's a little bit overwhelming, especially when we have such a bright foreground, but I was pleased that I finally returned to this book, and now when I look at this book I also want to color many more pictures here. Here again I did acrylic background. You can see that I use this muted royal blue acrylic paint quite often here. It's pleasant color with very good coverage, and it matches many of the images here. I am pleased that for many pictures here I used colors which I usually don't use that much in my books. Somehow it helps me to be more adventurous with my colors. So this one I did with Derwent color softs, and I was pleasantly surprised how they behaved here. Quite nice, both for the snake and flowers. Usually I'm not a huge fan of snakes, but here it's quite beautiful with all the ornaments added on her skin, her beautiful scales. It looks more like something from jewelry than like a real snake, so that's why I didn't mind to color it. Let's move. And we have another winter picture. It's one of my oldest works here. I used Prismacolors mostly for the cute village. Then I used Derwent drawings for the hair, for the snow, for the mountains, I believe. And what about the background? Probably Prismacolor pencils. Anyway, I do love it. I deliberately tried not to use very bright colors. Everything is slightly muted, exactly like I feel more appropriate for Scandinavian style designs. Well, about this page, I'm quite proud of my background. First, it was one of my more successful attempts how to do white fur. Maybe it's not visible, but apart from actual gray, it also has a little bit of yellow and beige to do slightly better shadows on the white fur. I also added this background. All those mountains and even the tiny villages behind, I added them myself. So I'm quite proud that I managed to do such an interesting background. I wanted to create this impression of the heavy falling snow, but the bear, it looks quite comfortable in the cozy sweater, and maybe it's waiting for the train, for some other transport to begin some interesting trip. The only failed detail here is this poor bird. I did it as my last element. Maybe I was a little bit tired from the page, or I was overwhelmed with the proud how I did the background. I tried to transform initial bird into cardinal. I failed, so it's not the best detail here, but it matches the color of the bottle here, so it helped to create more well-balanced color composition at least. Well, that was one of the test pages where when I got my pencils from they are called Aqua Blend L and Color Blend. They are not very popular sets, but they had interesting colors and I tested them here. They are not perfect for this paper, but some of the colors were really nice, so that was my test page. And in the end, I had Santa Claus, but made more in our Slavic style, because usually in Russia, in Ukraine and other countries here we were used to Santa Claus, which we call Ded Moroz. It's actually grandfather Frost. We are used that he wears blue instead of red. That Santa, he is in red, and our own Santa, he is in blue. So that's why I decided also that it's enough of red Santas, let's use blue for once. And here I probably most of all proud of the background. I did it with all light colors of Prismacolors. I think that it looks like cloud. I was inspired by the thought of the very early morning after Christmas. The Santa is already sleepy, maybe he is tired after such a long night of bringing presents, so maybe it's his last task to bring all those presents, and then he will be able to finally rest. And maybe if I would work a little bit more on the presents, or if I would mask black lines on his clothes, it would look better, but it's an old work, more than 3 years, maybe 4 years. And at that moment I was quite happy with it and I still like it. A very good book, and let's wish that one day it will be reprinted. Next book full of cuteness is this Fairy Celebration by K.Markova. And just like with the book by Emily Lindholm-Oberg, initially I had a lot of doubts regarding style of K.Markova. First I thought that maybe it's not for me. Details are extremely overwhelming, even if I do love details. Somehow pictures they look a little bit too crowded. And also I wasn't very fond of her insects and her creatures. The girls are not bad, but some male characters, some kind of, and even such creatures I wasn't very fond of. And all those gnomes probably. So I wasn't sure that I actually will be able to color it. But I'm extremely grateful to the person who gifted me this book last Christmas, and I realized that I love to color it and I enjoy each picture here. The only thing I try to do, I try not to look at videos and pictures by other colorists because all her books are very popular. So in order not to copy and in order to try to invent something for myself, I really try hard not to look at others' works. Well, I also enjoy working on this paper because it's absolutely premium quality book, and it's another separate pleasure apart from interesting pictures. It's also pleasure to work on the very good paper. Here I even managed to do a very decent title page. Here I used watercolors for the background, regular watercolors and liquid Ecoline watercolors. Everything worked really well. And then it's polychromos pencils for the details. I hadn't colored a lot here and it's a shame, but it's a usual problem when you have so many books. But for just 1 year of coloring, I think that I managed to do a decent amount of pictures. I do love these unicorns. Here I used Prismacolors, and I hope that you can see that I added interesting colors to the body of the unicorn. Apart from a little bit of grey and grey lavender, it also had a little bit of cream, pink, so even if the general color of the skin is still white, it also has some glowing, some shining, which I tried to add using pastel shades from Prismacolor set. And the baby unicorn also looks quite cute. Here I used more of blue and lilac colors. And one of my traditional color combos of warm olive green together with violet, lilac and orange. Nice color combo, always quite nice looking. Here I did this very cute seahorse. I do love how I did gradient on the body. So even if it's small, sometimes I enjoy doing these small pictures. Usually here I test some of the color combos which I plan to use in the future for the bigger projects. And they are also quite nice to finish in relatively smaller time. That's why I also did this couple of autumn pictures. Again, I wanted to test this color combo on the cups of the mushrooms. I needed this color combo for other page and I decided to test it here. But of course the cake, it's more interesting to look at. I would say that it looks quite yummy. I especially love berries around, but the pumpkin also isn't bad. I filled the background here. I used pencils which were probably too hard on the surface, but still, for the practice it's not bad. Next, very lovely page which I did with the mix of Prismacolors and polychromoses. Of course I did it for the February coloring, so we definitely have a date beneath the moon here, actually 3 dates. That's the creatures which I wasn't fond of in the beginning, but now I got used to them, especially when we have so many details. I think that one of the reasons why I love to color her books is because I do love to color such berries. I have a soft spot for such berries. So, and we can have them in each and every of her pages. Again, we have them here. It's one of my recent works. I did it this probably last month or maybe 2 months ago, and everything was relatively well. The only problem I had to select colors for the mushrooms. In the end, I think that they are not bad. At least they match the rest of the colors. For me, it was a little bit too much details here, a little bit too crowded. Maybe something I would prefer to delete from this page, but I enjoy to do berries, fall leaves, and of course the very cozy room inside of the tree. And finally we have winter pictures. I did this gingerbread man with Prismacolor pencils. Very nice work. It really helped me to start feeling Christmas feeling. Then one Christmas page which I did in January, immediately when I got the book. I did it with Prismacolors. Again, I needed to get used to the style. Everything is overwhelming. So many details, so many things putting around. Maybe again, too much for me. But I realized that it's the style of Clara. I don't have to worry about that. We can't actually see what is the main character, where are the focal points here. We just can look at each and every cute detail and enjoy pictures in such way. And one work which I finished this month, but I will show you in the end of the month when we will talk about my December. So that's another very cute book. And now I'm sure that I can color Clara's books, and maybe I don't know if I need more of her books, because I do enjoy working here. We will see. We will see at the newest book, which is promised for us by Clara to be published the next year. And of course, if we talk about cute pictures, then the next item will be Nice Little House by T.Bogema. Let me adjust my camera to the size of the pictures. You can see that all her books I prefer to purchase not as paper editions, because paper is terrible, but I prefer to purchase as PDF and then to print them myself. Here we have pictures which I finished from various books. Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly from Nice Little Town 5, 6. I think that I have 6, 7, and last Christmas I purchased Santa's Village and Christmas. Anyway, all the videos are on my channel, so if you're interested, then in the beginning of the video I show the title of the book also. So I have some summer pictures, and usually I mix various brands. Here, when I print these pictures, I quite frequently use my budget pencils like Sucolor or Arteza or Starjoy, especially for the bigger areas. I prefer to use cheaper pencils, and even if I use quite simple paper, it's called paper for drawing, made in Ukraine. It's relatively thick, but still it's possible to print on it, and pencils, they work decently on this paper, so it's much easier comparing to working on the paper if the books by Tatiana are printed on Amazon. So here we have nice summer day for the mice family, and I think that I selected it because I really wanted to color this rubber duck. And from this bright color you can see where I intended to put all the attention of the viewer on the rubber duck. But frog also is quite cute. The next one I absolutely love. Here I did a very light background using alcohol-based markers, and then on the details I think that I worked with again with color pencils, maybe artisan. Again, it's available on my channel. I do love how I did the impression of the ice caves where they produce ice cream, and how I did all the yummy things which they use for production of the ice cream in more bright and warm color. So it was fun to color, honestly. This one is also quite good, and I think that I created 5 parts of this color along, and it's narrated, so if you're interested, again I will leave you a link in the end of this video. Of course, I was attracted to all those baked goods, to the ice cream, a very nice and yummy page. I think that everything made with Prismacolors. Looking at the color on the sweets, it's definitely Prismacolors. Here I think that I used artisan and some color pencils. I do love the idea of gardeners, gardening houses, so if I have pictures with similar subjects, I also always try to color them. And we have the gardener mouse, we have seeds, we have plants which are ready to be planted somewhere, and we already have probably results and some products, so maybe some kind of jam. A lot of interesting details on the designs of Tatiana, so probably that's why from time to time I love to color them. Another good page is Pharmacy. I always loved it as a line art, and I tried to do it from it a nice coloring. I'm not sure about the background color which I selected, but at least everything inside of the wooden pharmacy, it's not the cave, so this small wooden building, I do love the pharmacist. He looks good, and it was quite fun to color all the bottles behind. This one I think that I did last Christmas. Again, maybe the video will be helpful for you, so I will try to leave a link. I tried to show how I did highlights on the Christmas stocking from the lantern, how I colored all the cookies and gingerbread man, then cinnamon and orange, so I will try to find a link to this video. That's one from Santa's village, and I do love the architecture there. All the buildings look very cute. I printed it on grey paper because I thought that it would be easier to work on the snow, and I do love how light shades of Prismacolor behave on the toned paper. Their colors, they start to shine much better comparing to printing on a white paper. So it was an interesting experience, even if the tooth of this paper it's not exactly for small details. But the final impression, it's not bad. This one I absolutely love. I think that 2 remaining pictures are definitely my favorites. I think that this one was made with Prismacolors probably, and this one with artisan. Anyway, again, links will be in the end of the video. Here we have this wish list to Santa. You can see that the mouse trying to create a letter to Santa probably, and he is dreaming about many toys. I hope that he managed to get all those presents. And it was quite interesting to decorate the tiny room and to color all the toys around. You can see that using very intense colors on the cover of the bed, so I tried to attract attention to the central part, not to be distracted from the objects around. And the cutest detail was that this letter is already not the first attempt. Some of the letters were deleted. They weren't probably very successful. And finally we have this very cute bakery. We have candies, we have gingerbread man, we have another thing for distributing candies, and that's why I love pictures in this book, in this series, that they have a lot of cute details like all those elves which are packing presents, creating some toys to pack as a presents, and here we have packing sweets. I think that yes, I used Arteza. I can clearly see their burgundy and wine red colors which I used for the backgrounds, and it's even a little bit in steampunk style with all the metal details here, so that was another reason why I decided to color this page. Well, that was all from the Nice Little Town series, but I also have two vintage classic books. I colored something only on this one. In the second book I started to do the background, but then Christmas time started, so I hadn't finished it yet. And what I have here, sorry, I didn't put bookmarks. Here I hate paper, but I do love designs. So that was my test page. I struggled with the background, and in the end I managed to do it with plain grey acrylic. It's not a bad choice, at least acrylic you can use on this paper, and it created a good contrast to the colorful page here. I tried to use more muted colors here for the flowers and plants, so a lot of Derwent drawing pencils, probably some Monarch pencils with their pastel colors, and I hope that with the golden color on the eye and beak I managed to attract attention to the royal bird. And another page which I have here, again I did with many media, acrylic gouache for the background. Again, probably the backgrounds here, they are my biggest problem on this paper. I don't know what to do, and I don't like to leave the empty white background. So if I know how to do the background, then the main image, it's always easy to color. Here I discovered that on this toothy paper it's even possible to use my Kohinoor polycolor pencils, which are demanding to the tooth of the paper. And it was a mix of different various brands. I mostly selected them depending from colors. I think that here I used Black Widow, my Scorpio set. They have quite good colors. I especially love their blues. And the mouse inside of the cave, it's quite cute. I don't plan to purchase any more of T.Bogema's books, but I definitely plan to color in those which I already own. And finally, speaking of cuteness, let's have a look at these very cute houses, cottages. Kolorowanki by Vladislava Schaffer-Hans. You know that it's a frequent guest on my channel. During this year I did several pictures here, and again, one of the biggest reasons, it's not only because the designs are good, it's because I really enjoy how my polychromos pencils work on this paper. Each time I promise myself to do something with watercolor here, but I always end with polychromos because they glide over the surface, they blend on it absolutely perfectly. Well, again, sorry for not putting some bookmarks, so let's start from the end. It's my recent work. I hope that you enjoyed it. I wanted to do this one, but then I decided that maybe I will postpone it until the next year. Next I have this cottage with rose hips, and I have video on my channel where I explained how I color those rose hips with polychromos pencils. This one is definitely one of my favorite designs. I want to color it, but for this fall I selected another one, so I did this pumpkin cottage. Again, I think that it was one of the best pumpkins which I managed to do. Here I used several yellow, several orange brown colors, a little bit of green, so they are not bad, they don't look flat. and it was a good experience. Usually I prefer to use Prismacolors when I need to cover bigger areas like this grass. So it's Prismacolors, maybe Prismacolors also on the walls here, and the rest it's polychromos. Here we have the rose cottage. I think that I was attracted to the big rose. I wanted to color it, and I think that it was interesting to work when the background, when the sky is violet. So in order to balance composition, I selected this violet color also for the tiny flowers here. Another fall design, also it was quite fun to do all the leaves. I do love how I did leaves here. Here I probably made a mistake when I selected color for the background. First I thought that maybe it would be cute to do the mountains behind in these colors, like they are covered by the trees with fall leaves, but then somehow I decided to do roof in similar colors, and that wasn't the best decision. The grey roof would be much better choice, and the house would stain against the background color much better. But, well, it was a part of education. I don't know, I think that I did this color mostly because I already did grey and blue roofs on my previous pictures, so I simply wanted new color combo, which wasn't the best choice together with the background. Anyway, I still love this page. And somewhere I need to find my cyclamen cottage, the last one in this book. Here I tried to use Arteza because Arteza has some good green colors and I wanted them for the leaves, but I wasn't very impressed how they behave on this paper, and after this experiment I decided that it's enough and I will enjoy my polychromos here. Maybe one day I will manage to use watercolor also, because I saw beautiful works by Vladislava herself here with watercolor. But for now I enjoy working here with pencils. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this series about cute books, and I think that the next also will have some cute things like dragons. So please return for the next series.